Have you ever felt like a core part of your personality is, well, the very thing that's holding you back at work? It's that trait that feels like both your biggest gift and your biggest curse. We're about to dive into a powerful story that shows how a really simple shift in perspective can turn that perceived weakness into your most valuable asset. So let's start with this quote. It's from a professional named Johnny, and man, it just perfectly captures a certain type of person. He's the guy you send in when everything is on the line, the clock is ticking, and you absolutely need a last-minute miracle. And for a long, long time, this was his defining strength. And that brings us right into what we're calling the performer's dilemma. This is all about that drive to pull off incredible things under immense last-minute pressure. It's like being a high-wire artist, It can lead to some spectacular wins, but as we're about to see, it also carries a really heavy price. So this performer mindset, it's fueled by pressure. It's motivated by what Johnny calls the applause. I mean, get this, he actually won Rookie of the Year at his company by basically waiting until the very last month to just surge past all his competition. It was a huge victory, for sure, but this whole approach, it's a classic double-edged sword. And living this high-stakes lifestyle, well, it leads us to our next section, a tale of two selves. It created this massive internal conflict for Johnny, a real battle between two totally different identities that he needed to be successful. So here are the two sides that were constantly at war inside him. On one side, you've got the performer, social, spontaneous, just thriving on that urgency and applause. And on the other side, you have the professional, disciplined, focused, the guy who needs consistency to get that quiet but crucial work done. These two selves were in a constant tug of war for his time and his energy. And in that battle, guess who almost always won? Yep, the performer. Johnny straight up admits that if a call came in, he'd drop everything. But why? Well, think about it. A spontaneous conversation offers a potential audience. But that essential admin work, the planning, the notes, there's no applause there. There's no glory. Which brings us to the inevitable consequence, the high cost of glory. Yeah, all that last-minute heroism led to some really big wins, but the personal cost was becoming dangerously high. That glory came with a hidden price tag. First off, there was just the constant grinding stress. Living in this perpetual state of crisis, always pulling things out of the fire at the last second, meant his baseline stress level was just chronically toxically high. And that kind of pressure was just terrible for his mental health. And, as he put it, it absolutely frustrated his wife. It created this painful cycle of burnout and recovery that was affecting every single part of his life. But here is the most alarming part, the real wake-up call. This lifestyle directly contributed to 2 stress-induced mini-strokes. 2. This was his body sending the clearest, loudest signal possible that something fundamental had to change. This wasn't just a professional problem anymore. It was a full-blown health crisis. And that's when Johnny realized, the high-risk, high-reward strategies that were so thrilling in his 20s, well, they were now physically dangerous in his 40s. The game had completely changed, but he was still playing by the same old rules. So that brings us to the breakthrough moment. Redefine, don't release. And the solution didn't come from trying to kill off that performer inside him. Nope. It came from a simple but honestly profound shift in perspective, moving from trying to release this trait to redefining it. This was the critical question his coach asked him. Not, how do you get rid of it, but how do you redefine it? This suggested the performer wasn't the problem at all, but was actually a powerful tool that just needed a new mission. And Johnny latched onto this idea instantly. He realized he couldn't suppress his nature. He was a performer to his core. So the goal wasn't to fight who he was, but to channel all that energy in a healthier, more sustainable way. Okay, so how did he actually do it? Well, this new perspective, this idea of building a new repertoire, it unlocked this powerful metaphor that gave him a really clear path forward, and it used language that he, as a performer, deeply understood. The metaphor was music. He realized that for over a year, he'd been attending vocal classes, learning all the technical material at his new company, but he hadn't actually chosen the songs he was going to perform. He was a singer with no set list. So this became his new performance plan. He decided he would build a repertoire of specific financial strategies that he could master and then confidently perform for his clients. The applause would no longer come from last-minute heroics, but from the actual mastery of his craft. This quote basically became his new mission. He realized he needed to be known for his specific expertise, his music, not just his ability to handle a crisis. He was shifting from being a generalist performer to a specialist with a clear, valuable repertoire. And all of this leads to the final question, the one for you. What's your superpower? Because Johnny's story provides such a powerful lesson for any of us who feel like our own natural talents are sometimes at odds with our long-term goals. The key takeaway here is this: you don't have to fight who you are. The goal isn't to eliminate your core traits, it's to evolve them. Find a way to make your unique personality serve a new purpose that actually aligns with the person you want to become. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. What's your performer mindset? What's that powerful trait you have that sometimes feels like a liability? Instead of trying to get rid of it, just ask yourself, how can I redefine it, give it a new mission, and turn it into my greatest professional strength?